Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing Martin, but I have to move the same piece type on both boards. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, obviously the premise here is that if I move a pawn on the left board, then I have to move a pawn on the right board and vice versa. I think I'm going to adopt a similar strategy as the one that I did when I played against Martin, but I gave him 3 moves on every single turn, which is to only move one piece at a time. Basically, while I'm playing the entire game, try to incite as many blunders as possible, and then move on to the next piece, and then the next, and so on and so forth. Kind of the inverse of what you're supposed to do, which is only move one piece at a time to fully develop. Because since Martin is a 250 elo bot, he kind of has to make sort of mistake-esque moves. But the problem is sometimes those moves walk directly into threats. Say he, I don't know, I have a knight on f3 and he has a bishop on c5. He would very much play queen to h4 looking for checkmate, blundering the queen. But if for whatever reason on the other board, say I have to move my queen because I've just made a whole bunch of different piece movements, he will also immediately capitalize on checkmate. So I'm going to play with one piece type at a time. I'm thinking we start with a knight. So we'll play knight to f3 on the left board, knight to f3 on the right board. Now it is only the same piece type. I've elected to play knight to f3 on both boards just because it makes my life a little simpler, but I could have just as easily played knight to e2 or knight to h3. I will try to not vary too much at the beginning of the game though, so it doesn't overcomplicate my life later on. The more symmetry across both boards, definitely the better. And you know what? I could definitely also do my queen, but let's keep going with the knight. I'm just going to move my knight around and eventually find free material on either board. And this is the perfect example. If for whatever reason on this board I had to move my queen out of danger or stop mate in 1, I would definitely on this board lose the knight. And that's also something I definitely cannot have. I can't have, say, knights on this board and then bishops on this board. That is not going to fly. Let's move the knight back to b3. Oh, bishop takes! Okay, let me make my knight move on this board as well. Queen to g4. You're actually kidding me. Okay, this is crazy because I called that something like this would happen. I was yapping too much, to be honest, at the beginning of the video, talking about how this might happen. I have to move my king out of check, which means I have to move my king on this board as well, but I can't move my king to e2. Wait, did I just lose? Because I can move the king here to f2 to take the bishop, and I only have to move the king over here, but I can't move him anywhere. Wait, that just ends the challenge. I lost. Okay, with that, I guess we lose game number 1. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2, I'm honestly a little bit rattled by how that went, but let's try something new this time. I'm still only going to move one piece at a time, but this time I'm going to make it my queen. That way she has as much control over the board as possible. Okay, we get the bishop developing over here. Let's just keep moving the queen. I actually want to keep her super safe on this board, but I do want her to have scope across the position, right? Since I'm only moving the same piece type across both boards, it can definitely just be one piece at a time. Okay, we do get sacked on d2. So on this board, I have to move a bishop. Actually, I could just move my bishop to e2, and then on this board, move my bishop to d2. I didn't specify that it had to be the same color bishop. It just had to be the same piece type. So that is, in fact, a bishop. I actually think on both boards, I'm going to make the exact same move now with queen to c3 and queen to c3. Bishop d7 over here, knight to f6 over here. So we do pick up a rook on the left board, which means on the right board, I have to move my queen. Let's just move her to c4, grab as much space as possible. Pawn goes to g5, and just to be clear, to win this challenge, I do have to get checkmate on both boards. I can't just win on the left board and then make a total mess of the right board. Let's take on g8, so I have to move a queen on this side as well. King moves out of the way, rook shuffles out of the way as well. All right, what's my best bet here? Let's take on h7, move the queen again on this board. Bishop goes back, which means the queen no longer sees the bishop, but the king still does. But I think that's enough for me to play queen to h8, right? Martin has to play at a 250 elo sort of level of play, so he does have to give away some number of pieces. Queen to h8, and I'll move the queen back over here. Okay, he just shuffles the bishop back over, moves the knight out of the way over here though. So let's make a waiting move with the queen, and then capture on h8 with check. Pawn to b5 does absolutely nothing. Let's get the queen out of here. I kind of don't want to trade her on the left board because then I'd have a very powerful queen on the right board that I can't use. So I have to keep this queen super safe. Let's go queen to h7, and then on this board, queen takes h7. I'm feeling really good about this. Queen to c8 does nothing. Knight f6 does target the queen. So over here, I have to move my queen. Let's move her with check. And over here, I will move the queen, maybe down to d3 is good. That's a free pawn. So we'll move the queen again, take with check, move the queen again, just move her to safety on the right board. Okay, I think I'm definitely winning on the left board. Let's play check, make a waiting move over here. e5, king g7 will take on f7, make another waiting move. I think on this board, I'm more concerned about just keeping the queen safe. Whereas on this board, I'm actually going to utilize her to like make, winning moves and capture pieces and what have you. It's really tempting to just start moving this pawn all the way down. The problem is I'd have to move pawns over here as well, which I kind of could do, but those are harder to gain tempi with because obviously if a pawn moves forward, it can never move backwards again. So let's just keep shuffling around. I'm going to shuffle my queen around until I've emptied off this board and shuffle my queen around just to keep her safe on this board. I think that's my new strat. Oh, okay, we do get this capture with check, so I do have to move my king. I'll take on f2, move my king over on this square. Now, I do have to be really careful with my king because checks are forcing moves, so I'm limited to the pieces that would get me out of check, which are moving the king itself, blocking, in this case that would be with a pawn, or blocking with one of these bishops or knights, which actually does offer me a lot of variability right now, but in the future it might not, so I'm going to be really careful about keeping my king out of checks. In the meantime, I will continue to bulldozer away at these pieces while keeping the right board pieces just generally safe. Oh, beautiful. We get pawn to c5 on the right board, which means I'm free to take back. We'll take with the queen and then just waste the move on this board. Okay, this is really good. We've almost emptied out his position over here, and this is critical because then I'm going to trap the king somewhere where he's safe but has limited mobility, and then do the same thing on this board where I just clear out all of his pieces, which should be much easier once he doesn't have pieces on the left board, because then I'm guaranteed to be able to move rooks, knights, bishops, pawns, queens, kings, basically every single type of piece, as long as I make sure that they have space to move. But okay, step number one, let's clear out this left board. Okay, we've completely melted away Martin's pieces on this left board. So now I'm just going to move the queen down. This guarantees, and I'll move the queen over here as well, and this guarantees that the king is always restricted to these squares. He literally has nowhere else that he can play. Plus I have all of these other pieces that have plenty of mobility. So if I need any piece to move on the right board, I can just move it on the left board as well, and then move it on the right board. So say for instance, right now I want to move my queen. I'll move my queen on the left board, take on d6 on the right board, rinse and repeat. The trickiest part of this will be getting checkmate on this board, right? I suppose on both boards, right? I'm just thinking about this one because I have to take these pieces off. But the trickiest part will be moving the same piece type on both boards. I think the easiest way would be to sort of finesse a ladder's mate so that I can just crawl down the board with the same piece type on both boards. I've also just realized I only have 50 moves, because or less, I suppose, maybe 40 by now, because if the king shuffles around and I don't have any captures, checks, or something else on this board, or repetitions, I suppose, then it is draw by 50 move rule, so I am a little bit in a time crunch on this right board. Okay, we've almost completely eliminated Martin's pieces on the right board. I will take this final pawn and make a queen move to match. The trickiest part of this is I do need to get checkmate at the same time on the same move with the same piece type, because if I get checkmate on one board but there's no checkmate on the other board, I will also consider that a failure of the challenge. So let's move the rook down to the 6th rank, shuffle it over on the left board. Now they're both on the 6th ranks. Now queen down to the 7th rank, queen down to the 7th rank. And I can't believe that even in such a freaky challenge like this, I will be able to deliver my favorite type of checkmate invented in 3000 BC by Ooga Booga Ladder. We do have Ladder's Mate. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below if there are any other freaky Martin challenges that I should try on for size, and I'll see you guys in the next one.